go ahead and be getting comfortable because I don't want y'all doing a lot of walking around. It needs to be like a pin drop in here. Are y'all gonna sit or what are you gonna do? Okay, because I don't want to hear a bunch of noise. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. What did we do?
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound. You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound. You have not entered any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Okay.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. Please enter the meeting password followed by pound. You have not entered any numbers. You are in the meeting now. There are 13 participants in the meeting. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6. You have been added to the waiting room. You cannot talk or listen until the host admits you to the meeting. You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6. Hey there, Ace. If you can hear us, you are currently on mute.
Can you hear me?
You are unmuted. We sure can. So go ahead, feel free to address the committee for just a minute or two, and then after that, it will just give the opportunity for the committee to ask you questions in that forum. So turning it over to you now.
All right. This is Ace.
Can I just say welcome, Asa, and appreciate you coming on board.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, this is Asa Wagner, Chair of the Hart County Republican Committee. I'm on this call right now to hopefully get some better understanding or answers regarding this anonymous complaint that we have had filed against us. And what I hope that this committee will do is make a recommendation against shutting down this committee. We had just flipped the county about 4 months ago, and that has been a huge achievement for a county that's been a blue county since forever. And I would hope that this committee would recognize that we need to continue to grow that in order that we can help in the future to elect Republicans in offices and also to elect Republicans in the county level specifically. Currently, we have a majority of Democrats on the fiscal court, and we also have several offices that we need to find Republicans to run in those specific positions. One thing I would hope that will be addressed in this particular meeting is I would request, I'd like to know, for instance, I know this was an anonymous complaint, and I'm aware of what they are trying to say that we have done here in Hart County. I'd like to, first of all, I would like to know who filed the complaint. I do think it's kind of troublesome that you would have an anonymous complaint filed and we don't know exactly who filed it. I believe that we should know who is the person that is making this accusation. And I think that the members of my committee that have been concerned about this issue since November when we was made aware of this, they would like to know, well, who filed this complaint. Because the members of my committee, even when we've discussed this over the past few months, have been wanting to know what's been going on as far as that. And then, also what would be on the agenda tonight before our meeting, they was wanting to have a vote to have that unredacted anyway this evening, so I'd hope that at least give some calm to my members that are going to be meeting this evening, that we would know who that is, and also just more clarity on that. And then also another issue that we voted on back in December at our December the 19th meeting is we'd like to have somebody from this committee or representative to come down to one of our meetings, hopefully in the future, to also help us have a better understanding of this as well. So that's probably the end of my statement.
Well, let me, this is Mac Brown. Asa, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Appreciate you asking the question. The question that has come before the committee is why the Hart County Committee ended up supporting Democrats over the Republican nominees and not endorsing Brendan Reed and Representative Brett Guthrie. That's the issue.
Okay.
And if you can help me understand that, or because do you recognize the requirement of the party to support our nominees for election if you're an official of the party?
Yes.
So when they do not support the nominees who were selected in the primary, is there a reason that is totally, that we're missing, that they shouldn't be supportive of the selection of the primary? And again, we're talking about officials of the party. We're not talking about your everyday average Joe. We all have different opinions and all that kind of stuff, but when you get signed on as an official of the party, that creates a different standard for people. Would you agree to that?
I would give the response that I'll kind of go back as far as Mr. Hank Linderman. We had an event here in Horse Cave called the Horse Cave Heritage Festival. We had a booth set out there to try to raise funds as well as promote information regarding all of the candidates. Hank Linderman had came through. He approached us. I didn't know he was there. I wasn't there to seek him. I had no clue he was there. He asked, hey, I'm Hank Linderman. I'm running for Congress as a Democrat. He said, would I be able to speak? Now, what we had posted on Facebook for months is that we support free speech. That we don't, it doesn't matter who it is. If they want to come in and talk, then that doesn't necessarily mean we agree with everything they have to say or that we're going to support them. One of the things he said, so I did say yes, you could come and speak, but I just want you to make sure that you're aware that we're not donating to you, we're not giving you any money, we're not supporting you. This is just you as a person requesting to speak to a committee that believes in free speech. The individuals that was at that meeting, majority of them did not like at all what he had to say. There were some that engaged in conversation with him to challenge his views. But I stated before the meeting, I said, this is Hank Linderman. He's running for Congress. He's running against Brett Guthrie. But I'm just making sure everyone in this room is aware that we are not endorsing this individual. We're not giving this individual money. He is just speaking to us for a few minutes. You all can ask him questions. And as far as that is where that went. As far as Brett Guthrie, the issue of to why the committee voted not to support him in the general election is due to an issue that happened back when we tried to reach out to him in order for him to come and speak to us. I reached out to a campaign individual. I reached out to that person in December, and they said that they would get back to me December of 21, and they said that they would reach out to me in the following weeks. But around that time is when we had those terrible storms and tornadoes that came through, so we was not able to reach right then. I did do a follow-up text to say, hey, I'd like to see if we can get Brett Guthrie to come speak to us, hopefully sometime before May, so that the committee can hear from him. And the individual said that she would try she said she would reach out to me tomorrow. She said she would reach out in December, she said she would reach out to me next week. Of course, I kind of let that slide as far as December because it was Christmas and we had those storms. In January, I reached out, or February, I reached out, and she said she would get back with me tomorrow. And then tomorrow, this is February, turned into April, and when I responded back, I had not got a response from that person, and that had disheartened the committee. Going to Brandon Reed. Brandon Reed, we had reached out to him as soon as redistricting had taken place back in January, wanting him to come and speak before this committee. We'd like to at least have an idea of what his views are in the House or what's going on. We have reached out to him on several occasions, and he will not come. So, the committee had just said, we just don't want to support somebody that we feel like that is not representing this county appropriately. End of comment.
So, when you sort of come down to it, when you decide not to support Brett Guthrie, that you give access to his Democratic competition, doesn't that seem like you're supporting the Democrat, number one? Number two, with Brendan Reed, he still is the nominee that the county selected. Don't you think that violates the rule?
My opinion as far as the job as a chair and following Robert's Rules of Order is that I cannot necessarily intervene as far as what the committee decides. I'm supposed to try to be nonpartisan and impartial, and even with the instance of what we are discussing, I feel like even if I did put my foot down on these two particular issues, that the committee would overrule me and that the decision would stand anyway. I will also add. I would also add that even though the committee specifically did not want to support Brett Guthrie or Brandon Reed, that we still made sure that the literature that I was provided from, whether it would be signage or literature that was given to me for Brett Guthrie, that it was displayed on all of the tables. That way, that even if the committee as a whole did not want to support the candidate, that we are not closing that candidate off from individuals that want to know more or still support the candidate. Brandon Reed, of course, has not came, so I did not have any signs or any literature to put on the table for him.
Do you recognize that the rules require the committee, the elected officials of the party, to support the candidate who is chosen by the primary, regardless of their own personal feelings?
Could you repeat that again? I didn't hear.
Do you recognize that the committee needs to support the selected individuals by the primary, regardless of their own opinion?
I would say, as far as the committee, that as far as me as just a chair, I don't really get too involved as far as how the committee feels regarding things. I believe that as far as the committee, we just have strong feelings when we feel that somebody that is supposed to be a representative of us concerning Brandon Reed. We'll start with that. Concerning Brandon Reed, that he is supposed to be our representative, but he will not step foot in the Republican committee, which is Republicans that he would need to vote for him, so that way we could help give access. Like, as for example, as I mentioned, he did not come to any of our meetings. We didn't get any literature. We didn't get any signs. So if anybody wanted to know about Brandon Reed and what he stood for, we didn't have that information to give them. The committee, and me speaking on behalf of the committee and how they felt for months, and even to this day, is that they feel that Representative Brandon Reed does not care for Hart County, for the fact is that he will not come and speak to the Republicans that gather, the most active group of Republicans, to let us know, hey, what can we do for you as far as Republicans in this committee? What can we do for you? What do you need us to do? Do you need help passing a bill? What do we need to do? Do we need to call your office? Do we need to call the committee members that you are with? But if we don't have that connection, there's really nothing there for us to do.
Do you agree that Brandon Reed won the primary?
Yes.
Then is there any question that the rules require the committee to support Brandon Reed regardless, or individuals can choose to leave the committee? Do you understand the question?
I understand the question.
Look, the way I'm seeing it, people on the committee just downright didn't like Brandon Reed, and I respect their personal point of view. But at times, as officials, we don't have the options. And the question, in some cases, really comes down to what's the extent of the violation? I don't know if my colleagues here have any other questions. I know I'm leading this a little bit, and would welcome anybody else coming in, and I don't want to put you on, but I also, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you choose to step down at one point?
I did choose to step down, and then at the following meeting, the last meeting I was going to chair at the time, the committee felt as if that I had done nothing wrong, so they asked that I rescind the resignation. Of course, they was already signed in writing, and then the committee had voted to have an additional meeting, regular meeting, on the 19th, and they had re-voted me back in to be chair. They said that I was the only person that they wanted at the time to continue to serve in this position.
And I want to acknowledge the fact that people recognized your leadership. This is not easy stuff. I truly agree. But some of these rules aren't, they're not all our choice. Sometimes we'd like to say we'd like to change them, but it takes a whole lot of people to change these rules. And until they're changed, we're trying to follow the rules that we all have agreed to. So I hope you understand that as we go forward.
May I add a comment?
Sure, please.
I know after talking to some of the members over a period of time, they said that they don't necessarily feel that the censure of Brandon Reed that took place within this committee would have to stand. They said they would be more than willing to get rid of it, but we would like to have Brandon Reed come and speak to us. And that would not be a problem at all as far as the committee if he would come and speak to us, so that way we can rebuild that relationship that we would like to have. And that would be the same as far as Guthrie. as well. We just want somebody to come down and speak to us, so that way we do not feel as if we do not, if it feels as far as we do not, as far as, excuse me, I'm getting tongue twisted here, as far as making sure that we can have that bond that we would like to have with our representative. The representative is supposed to be the closest one to the people. We have issues that we dearly care about, and we would like to have we'd like to rebuild the relationship if that's possible, but we'd like to have Brandon Reed come and show up. The door has always been open. We have tried to invite him on several occasions, and that's just the way the committee felt as far as that. But we do feel that the relationship can be rebuilt, and I would hope that that would be the case as far as myself.
I truly appreciate your comments and your willingness to come chat with us and talk about this. I know it's not easy. And I'd just like to ask any of my colleagues have other questions that they want to ask or whatever. We got about 6 or at least 8, 10 people on here. You may not realize that you're on the phone. Anybody else want to make a comment or ask a question?
Chairman, if I can, Asa, this is John Park. Question about, you brought up a few minutes ago about the censure of Representative Reed. Can you explain that a little bit more to me? And it's my understanding that censure was passed out at your county fair or festival or whatever it was, that the local party, your party, passed that censure out to folks at that event?
We have it displayed, that way individuals can know why the committee felt that way. I do have a copy with me, if you'd like me to read that to you.
As for me, I don't need to read it.
I think the committee has seen that already, so I don't think that's necessary, but we'll make sure they have it.
But as I mentioned, we want to work together, and I would hope that the committee would want to work together. We want to build a relationship with our representatives. That's all. And for me personally, just me speaking out of being chair, to me personally, it would mean more to me, even if the committee did not agree with the Brandon Reed, whatever it may be, or whatever, but it would mean more to me just the presence of your representative being in the room and people having the opportunity to ask him questions or have any concerns that they may have as Republicans. That way we can build that relationship back, and I'd hope that Mr. Reed would see that, and that would help the process along as far as rebuilding the relationship that had been lost in the past. We don't want to be, for me personally, the way I see life, and when I go about my daily life, I don't want to be so out there in a bubble that I become disagreeable. We don't want to be we can have disagreements, but we don't want to be disagreeable, and this is a particular situation that I don't want it to be a disagreeable situation. The main thing the committee really wants is just Brandon Reed to show up to our committee. It really doesn't have much to do with anything, much more as far as Hart County is concerned, to do with really anything else. It would mean more to us if we would just have a representative that would show up and talk to us. I mean, I have personally concerns about what's going on in Frankfort, and I'd like to have someone to address it to, but when you can't get them on the phone, you can't get them to show up, it's just kind of disheartening that you have a representative and he'll show up everywhere else in Hart County, but with Republicans that would love to reach out and take him in his arms and try to guide him in the way that Republicans here in the committee in Hart County would like to have someone to talk to about the issues that we have.
Asa just had a thinking about the way people respond, there seems to be bad blood, I hate to say it that way, between Brendan and the committee. The question is, who reaches out first? How do they reach out? And who's the messenger? And that's really what it comes down to, I think, in this case. I've had the opportunity to meet Brandon and other people. But just to say they need to come to you, I don't know that that's quite the answer. I think there needs to be a more personal way to figure out how to respond. And that would be my only recommendation to you all. He is as hurt and angry probably as you are. And he feels he was cheated or treated improperly, is probably the better way to say it, during the election. And angry at a group of individuals. And if somebody wants to try to make peace, that would be a better way to go, to figure out how to reach out to him as opposed to say, come to me. That's the only thing that I don't know how my colleagues feel about that, but that's just the way that's my reaction to some of the things you might be saying.
Hey, so this is John Park again. I've got one other question for you. And I believe this to be on your Facebook page, but back in October, you had written some things. I'm hearing you say you want to work with them. I'm hearing you say you want them to come speak to you. I'm hearing that. I believe that to be somewhat of an olive branch, and we need to do that. We need to step off the merry-go-round that keeps causing this. But the question I have is that back in October, you said some things about Brandon Reed, and I can see where there's some hostility there, and maybe not feeling comfortable to come to a meeting because of what's being said. In that particular post, you called him a lunatic, and you called him a coward, those kind of things. Again, I'm hearing you say you want to work with them, you want them to come, and you want them to speak to your group. But this isn't a very good invite. So I don't know if you could explain that, or...
My response, and this will be a personal response, is the whole reason I got into politics is because I want to make a difference for the people. People for a long time have felt like that their representatives are not representing them well, that they're not doing what we need them to do. And the main thing that would help me with him, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want to be disagreeable. That's how, everybody has, sometimes people say something out of impulse or whatever. But if I take this response is that I would love to have Brandon Reed to come down and speak to us. And if that means that at that particular meeting of the comments that I have made, then I could let the vice chair preside over that particular meeting, and I won't say anything. It doesn't have to be about me. I just want the committee to have individuals that represent us to be present and speak to them. It's not about me. I'm just the person that tries to facilitate the meeting and run it the best way that I can, and try to do as best I can for the committee. And the committee would like to have him to come speak. That way we can at least try to bond that relationship. I would love to have that relationship bond. I'd love to have somebody and I can say, hey, this person's a good representative. I know him personally. Every time I ask him, can you look into this? Can you look into that? Can you do this? Can you do that? Then I know that he or she will be there and will say, hey, yes, I will, or you know, it's right here right now, but I'll do the best I can at it. So I do want to rebuild the relationship, and the committee wants to rebuild the relationship, but we would like to have somebody, as far as Brandon Reed is concerned, all we just want is him to come and speak to us. And as I mentioned, this censure doesn't have to stand. I've heard it from several members before. If we could just at least get him to come and speak, we wouldn't mind to just tear it up right then.
Asa, I just I'm going to go through the group here, the key people anyway, and ask Carol, do you have any questions you may want to ask? You're on mute. You're okay?
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. John, you've been great. Gray, you got anything you want to ask?
Just maybe a follow-up on the rules part. I know feelings, like I think Max said. I just wonder if ASA agrees that the rules prohibit, a local committee from not endorsing and following up, no matter what they feel like. The rules are there. Sounds like ASA, it sounds like maybe you've rejected that rule.
If that's what the
You
rule,
rejected the rule.
if that's what the rule requires, we will have to follow it.
Do you feel you followed it?
Not in that instant.
Okay. Bob?
Yes, sir. I find this all kind of intriguing and not necessarily in a good way. It sounds more of a personal issue, but I would love to go with Brandon when he goes and meets with these people so I can experience firsthand what either party is experiencing. Because I feel like all these issues that have been brought up are issues that could have been resolved through constructive conversation before it got to the point that it has. That's it.
Lisa, you got a comment you want to make?
Pardon me?
Okay. I was wondering if Ace had a comment.
Who had a comment?
You got any questions? Go ahead, sir.
Who was you asking if someone had a comment?
I didn't know whether you had a comment to what Bob just said.
If someone would like to come down with him, that'd be great. That's mainly what the committee wants, is we just want him to show up.
Okay. Libby, your thoughts? You're okay? All right. Deanna?
Yeah, I want to ask, whose idea was it? And I don't know if it was, the chair, the officers, the full committee to request Mr. Linderman to speak and Ms. Holloway, who understands the writing candidate, versus Heath over Western Kentucky. So who actually invited them to speak? How did that come about as to, because there was a post on Mr. Linderman's Facebook page that I think there was some misunderstanding. He didn't know he was supposed to speak, which would indicate that there was an invitation to speak at some point. So can you kind of clear that up as to how he got invited? Was that an invitation extended from the chair? Or did it come from the body itself? How did that happen?
Back in, let's see, I believe it was not October, it was September, I believe. We had a thing called the Horse Cave Heritage Festival. It's a big festival where everybody sets up tents or sells stuff, presents information. And Mr. Linderman was walking through, and he's seen our booth, and he said, "Hey, is this the Hart County Republican Party?" And we said, "It is." And he said, "I would like to have the opportunity to come speak to you all. He said, who would I need to talk to do that? And I said, that would be me. What can I do for you? And he said, I would like to have the opportunity to speak to you all. I know you all are Republicans, but I would just like to have the opportunity to speak. He said, and I said, we believe in free speech, and we have posted on Facebook several times, and this committee believes in free speech, and I said that you can come speak. However, I just want you to know that you're coming to speak in front of Republicans, and I'm not sure how well you're going to be received when you get there, and so just make sure you're aware of that. And he said he understood that. So there was one instance that it was listed that he would be a speaker, but he was not able to attend that particular one. That was in October. So he said, could I come in November? I said, it don't bother me, but when it came to that meeting, I said before he got up and spoke, I said, you all, this is Hank Linderman. He is a Democrat running against Brett Guthrie. However, we're not here to endorse him. We're not here to give him any money. We're not here to do anything. We're just here to let him talk, and you all can respond to him. We know nobody's going to agree with anything. I'm not sure if there was any agreement or whatever, but I did make that disclaimer, and I believe if the people that was in the room that attended that meeting can attest to what I said during that meeting in November, that there was individuals, committee members, and witnesses that can attest that I said that he would not be getting money, any endorsement or anything like that. And I will also add, at that event, as far as Horse Cave Heritage Festival, that my treasurer was also with me. I did not go searching for Linderman. I didn't care for him, but he came to us, and the opinion of the Constitution about free speech, I let him speak, but there was no endorsement. Nobody agreed with him. And then that's the end of my comment regarding Linderman. Now, as far as Kim Holloway, she asked if she could come speak to us. Again, I believe in free speech. The committee can ask questions of her. If they don't agree with something she had to say, they'll say that. But other than that, it was just she wanted to talk to us, free speech. And as the end of that, there wasn't much we could do for her because she wasn't running in this district. And I don't personally know Mr. Richard Heath. I know he's a representative, but as far as that, I don't really know too much about him. The only other thing I know about him is he is running for agriculture commissioner. And other than that, it's just she wanted to come speak, and I didn't have an issue with it. Like I said, there wasn't much we could do for her, but she just wanted to speak to the committee.
So, can I ask one question?
Sure.
The committee did endorse the sheriff, the coroner, the magistrate, Senator Paul, the county clerk, magistrate for the first, magistrate for the third, constable for the third. Is that all correct? They did endorse certain people?
Yes, we endorsed all the Republicans except the two individuals for the reasons mentioned prior.
So you chose not to endorse Brendan Reed to state representative of the 24th or Brett Guthrie for congressman for the second. Do you see a distinction at all between endorsing people and then being extremely silent but letting their competitors speak?
There would probably be no reason to have those individuals speak if the representative would show up.
You let them speak.
Yes, we let them speak, but there was no endorsement of the Democrat. There was no money given to them. And the Republicans in the room was for sure to challenge Mr. Linderman. They didn't agree with him on abortion. They didn't agree with him with anything. But he wanted to speak, and he got the hard time that he got when he came. And I warned him about that. I said, hey, you're coming to speak to Republicans. Like I said, brace yourself.
Okay, I have no more questions. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Mr. Mr. Wagner, are you aware? I mean, I don't know if you're kind of cognizant, but our primaries are how we get our nominees, and our party. I mean, our party itself exists to elect Republicans. So by not, we don't generally endorse anyone after a primary because they're our nominees. As a party, it's our job to support and elect those Republicans once the Republican voters have decided who they want to go forward into a general election. So there's really no need for any party to issue endorsements after May because our voters have already done that for us. So by deliberately not, as you called it, an endorsement of those individuals, it's kind of tacitly telling people to not support them. And then I noticed on the October 18th Facebook post, you actually even went as far as to say that you would not be voting for Brandon Reed. And it looks like you had put that out there publicly. Do you have anything to say about, why you, you are the chair of the Hart County Republican Party, but you're posting publicly that you're not going to support a Republican nominee?
As I mentioned earlier, if Brandon Reed would show up to our committee, we would love to bridge that gap that's there. And as one of your colleagues spoke earlier, I would love to have himself or herself or whoever to come down with him. That way we can bridge that gap. That's the only really thing that is. The members of this committee just want somebody that they feel comfortable with being a representative. And if they're not going to show up and represent the Republicans of this county, as I said earlier, I don't want to be disagreeable. If he wants to come down, the door has always been open since we found out that he would be our representative during the redistricting. It was open between then and the primary. It's open between after the primary and the general, and it's still open now. If he would like to come, I'd love to have him come. I don't have a problem with it. Any of them. Either Guthrie and Reed, I don't have a problem at all. If they want to come and speak, let them come speak. That's what the committee's been wanting, is somebody to come and listen to their concerns, hear their concerns, respond to their concerns, and take those concerns to Frankfort with them. And when they speak on the House floor, the Senate floor, voice those concerns that we have here in Hart County and the Republicans in this county. The whole issue at hand is we just want the individuals that are in office just to come and hear us. We want our voices heard. We want our voices just as heard as they are in another county as this county. As I mentioned, I reached out to Guthrie's campaign 3 separate times. I never did get an answer as to whether he was coming or not coming. Representative Brandon Reed, we've reached out, we've sent emails, we sent letters, no response. We just want a response from our representative.
Yeah, this is Bob Hutchison. I guess the concern that I have, or the question, or just a comment in general, is that we've had a function and we've invited the fox into the hen house by inviting the Democrats to speak, and indirectly as a form of endorsement, regardless if it wasn't. And for one county to have an issue with 2 legislators creates an issue in itself. It's either the 2 legislators or it's the one county. And I'd love to get both of them there to hear what everybody's got to say on a professional level and not a personal level. I'm almost feeling like maybe they didn't come because it was the trap was baited and ready to go. Is there personal issues that we don't know about between these 2 people and Hart County?
I don't know how every one of my committee members feel as far as them, but as far as me, as the chair of Hart County, I would just like the individuals to come so that the committee can feel comfortable. We want that discussion, and I welcome what you mentioned, to have both of them come. We'd love to have that. As I mentioned, the invitation to read has been open, and it is open, and put it on the record. The invitation to Brandon Reed and Guthrie is open. We want to form the bond with those individuals. We don't want to be disagreeable. We want to strengthen the resolve with these individuals. We want, and really, go ahead.
I guess one of the concerns, and it's really impactful, is that if I were an elected official, I'm not sure I'd want to come based on some of the comments that were posted on a public Facebook posting, because I would not maybe be fearful. I would just like, if that's the way they want to do business, I'm not going to go down that path. People who have to voice themselves on Facebook in the manner that has been with the postings is discouraging to any individual, whether it's an elected official or a person going to church. I wouldn't want to come to that environment with those type of postings. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed as well on a personal note, because that's all people use Facebook for, is bashing. 9 times out of 10, they're bashing somebody or something. And so on behalf of them or in defense of any elected official, I'm not sure I'd go into wanting to walk into the fire with postings out there trying to decimate somebody beforehand or after.
Hey, so this is John Park again. Can I ask another question? Have you had conversations with Representative Reed one-on-one?
No,
Just the two of you, or in a group?
I have not, because he has not shown up
Okay.
before the primary, after the primary, or now. That's the whole point. We want him to be here so we can talk to him. The invitation is open.
Your Facebook post that we've been referring to makes a comment that he is a conniving individual. Where'd it go? With a nasty temper. I'm not sure you can make that assessment if you've not actually had that conversation with him. And what I'm getting at is, I'm hearing you say the right things here. I'm hearing you say that you want them to come and speak to you, and I get that. And there's a lot of times, a lot of us on this call have made invites to our elected officials, and they sometimes can't come. Part of the problem here is I'm seeing posts like this. If I switch the roles around and you were the elected official and one of these people were making these comments like this, would you want to show up to their meeting?
The difference, in my opinion, is I would be at the meetings anyway. I don't think it would be an issue if I was a representative. I don't think it would take 15 or 20 attempts to come and speak to Hart County, or you send an email to ask him would he show up. It shouldn't take email, a bunch, like 15 or 20 emails or phone calls or some personally visiting your office asking if you would come speak to us. If I was a representative, I don't think it would require all of that.
But what I'm getting at is this post where you say he has a nasty temper, he's a lunatic, and you've not had an actual one-on-one conversation with him to really make that claim, and yet you're putting that out there for everybody to see. You are the chair of the party, and as the chair of the party, whether you like the candidate or not, there's some elected officials that I'm not fond of. You'll never hear about it because I'm not going to do that. But we need to be able to support our candidates and our elected officials. And when they're dealing with that, I kind of get the idea. I kind of understand why they may not want to come. and so that's where I'm at. Chairman, I'll refer back to you.
Okay. Well, Asa, is there anything you would like to cover in just the last statement before you jump off and we do certain amount of deliverance?
I'd say the last statement that I would make is that the committee wants the representative, Brandon Reed, to come down and speak to us. That's all we want. And also that I would also, as I mentioned in the emails and that I had sent a few weeks ago, pressuring the committee to keep this committee open, is because, as I mentioned, we had just flipped the county. Republicans want a committee here to hear those concerns. We are working as hard as we can to get this county, hopefully in 4 more years when we have another county election for judge executive and magistrates and jailer and all of these other county offices, that in that time we can have candidates that can make Hart County where it should be, a county that's really a real conservative county. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we had just flipped. Our current demographics is about 47% Republican to 45% Democrat. And hopefully, I would hope here in 4 more years or 2 more years or even before the end of the year that we can reach that majority status that we need. But if there's not a committee here of individuals that want to work together the best we can to get those individuals elected, find those candidates, it's going to be a whole lot harder to get that number of Republicans up to majority status, as we're right now just plurality. And I will say this as well, that it would be a disservice to all Republicans in this county if the membership committee were to do anything regarding this committee, because every Republican in this county deserves to have their voice heard, to have a entity or a organization to go to when they have an issue or a problem or something they would like to be heard. And also, that we can continue to grow as a community and a party here in this county. So I hope that I hope that we can come together. And as I mentioned, I'd love to have Brandon Reed and any individuals of your committee, if you'd like to come down and have conversations with us. Like I said, me personally, and this committee personally, does not want to be disagreeable. I mean, yes, everybody has disagreements, but we don't want to be disagreeable. So, like as I mentioned before, and I hope it's on the record for you all, the invitation to Brandon Reed or any of you all, if you'd like to come down, the invitation is open. And that, I'd say that'd be my final statement regarding that.
I appreciate that. One little final question. Can I ask you, who does the actual post to the Facebook account, just out of curiosity? What individual does that?
I have all of the executive officers listed as people that post. I'm not the only one that can post anything. I didn't, when I had
any executive officer, I got it.
And not just executive officer, I do have other individuals that are, good with the technology to do that as well. But at the time when I took over, at the time I was the only person on there back in December. But when I got in, I said I don't want to be the only one on the account. So I added several others that way. But if there's anything that needs to, anything like that, I didn't want to be the sole person on the account, because that would just cause a problem.
Appreciate it.
Matt, can I say one?
Yes, Bob, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Asa, I admire you for wanting to head up Hart County in the manner that you have. And as a past county chairperson going against all odds, I would not let one. Did you say you're 47% Republican
Yes,
in Hart County?
yes,
I would not let one elected official stop me from going from 47% to over 50%. I think put this stuff aside, get those Republican voters, get into the high schools, go out and get as many Republican voters as we can, whether we like or dislike what somebody's been doing or not doing. My goal as a county chair at the time was to get registered Republicans out there that would vote. And I think that's what I would be focusing on. But appreciate your time and effort, because it is a thankless job sometimes. But when we look at the big picture, it's a job that will pay rewards for future generations if we stay on track. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. When you pop off, we'll be able to go into our deliberations.
all right, I appreciate your time.